my dear church boys, and welcome back to St. Robert's Daygame Podcast. And this is a very special podcast episode. This is podcast episode number 100. 100, can you fucking believe this? That's a lot of talking in front of camera or a mic. And it's going to be a special podcast episode. We're going to talk about advanced daygame questions, or rather questions asked by advanced or intermediate, like pretty good daygamers. What I did a week ago, I asked in my group chat on Telegram, the Daygame Church group chat, that anyone who is the level of baby Casanova or deacon. Deacons are guys with 30 or more lays from Daygame, and they're really fucking good. And baby Casanovas are guys that are really starting to get it. They have 8 or more lays. They're giving good advice in the chat, or like starting to not give stupid advice in the chat. Those are guys that kind of know what Daygame is all about, and also guys that I have coached before. They also had an opportunity to ask me any questions they want in an audio format, so they sent in their questions. I have 9 questions on my laptop. I have not listened to those questions, but I know that some of them are pretty interesting. They are about things like threesomes and other pretty adventurous things. But before we jump into these questions, let's talk about what's happening, where I am, and the stuff that might be interesting for those who want to meet me and get some in-field coaching. I am finally back in Riga, Latvia, where all of this started for me. I'm super happy to be here in this Airbnb. By the way, that's why I'm in a place with super boring white background. There isn't really a place in this Airbnb that would look interesting in a video. I apologize for that. And let's talk about coaching during the summer, because the coaching season has started. A big part of the summer is already completely booked, but there are still quite a few spots left. And I actually have some interesting destinations in mind for this summer for different types of people. So depending on what you want, you might find some interesting spots. Let's start with guys that wanna learn in the relaxed environment, take some coaching, take some days off between coaching days so they can go out on their own, practice, implement whatever we're learning, and in that way get much more out of the time we spend together. Well, I am fully booked until May 20th, but starting May 20th, for a month, I am available until June 21st. I will be in Riga, Latvia, which is where I learned the Daygame, where I coached my first students. I coached a bunch of guys. Here I have a bunch of guys who are coming to work with me here this summer. It's a pretty cool Daygame place. It's not as busy as Prague or like some places in Poland, but it definitely has, I would say, better girls than Prague, better girls than Poland. It's a nice middle ground between places like Prague or Poland and places like Ukraine used to be, with really hot chicks that are a bit harder to game. So Riga is an amazing place for learning Daygame, and also there is so much to do outside of Daygame in Riga. So if you want to learn an environment like that, then Riga is the place you want to go to. And the next one is me and Mr. T, end of June, are going to a place in the Balkans. Because we've met very many, well, not very many, but we met quite a few very beautiful girls when we travel around the world from the Balkans, from the places that we're considering going to. I can just tell you one thing: it's not going to be Serbia. If you have crazy AA and girls scare you in general, this is not for you. Then Riga is a much better idea. But if you have some Daygame experience and you wanna try your luck with really hot girls, then this is the place you wanna join us. And then the next one is Sweden. I will go to Sweden in July. I'm coaching one student there, and I have one more coaching spot available there. So if you are not afraid of tall, really hot, blonde Swedes, then join me there. I think that's one place, by the way, that's gonna be pretty fucking epic. Well, that's it for now, because it's mid-April. I'm not going to talk about what's going to happen at like September, because most of the August I'm booked. I have 2 guys who are coming over to work with me from New Zealand. Can you imagine coming from New Zealand to learn Daygame? That is unbelievable. These guys have balls. I respect. I'm going to be spending most of August with them, but then late August and September, I don't really have plans yet. So if you want to do something, hit me up. If any of these ideas sounded good, then the link to find out. Everything else is in the description. You can go there, read everything, fill the form, and I'll get back to you most likely within a few hours or maximum in a day. And now with all of this being said, let's start listening to those fucking questions and talking about threesomes.
I've heard in a podcast, I'm not going to name names, but the person on the podcast once stated that instead of getting the girl to talk during the investment phase, getting her to listen to just random chit chat that she actually have is like another form of investment, because she's removing time from her day to listen to you, in which case that would particularly apply. This is like a very advanced Daygame question, but yeah, let me know.
I don't know who said this, but I do not agree with this unless it was in a very, very specific situation, because on a date, the person who is investing more is the person who builds connection, who is feeling more and more connected. So if you're only listening, then you're not gonna feel as connected to the other person. Whereas if you're talking a lot, if you're sharing things about your life, because sharing something with the person you're on a date with is basically opening up. So the more you open up, the more, I wouldn't want to use vulnerable, but basically the more you open up, the more connected you will feel to the other person, and that's what you should focus on your dates. You should focus on helping the girl to feel like she can open, using the conversation techniques we talked about on, I think it's either Dating Basics or Dating Advanced course on daygamecourses.com, to help her just talk more and more and more, and go from simpler topics like work and hobbies and whatnot, then go to things like traveling and parties. And then if you really want to go deep, you can start talking about some like, sometimes you'll get to pretty deep topics like family, previous dating experiences, but it's not necessarily to go there. Daygame.com guys, Andy, Yosha, and Yad were actually talking on their podcast, on their model, the Daygame Blueprint model, which is, by the way, the model I used to learn. It was before Tom Torero became the top guy. There is a part they used in their Daygame sets which was called Deep Rapport, where you would actually talk about pretty deep topics. By the way, one deep topic you can explore if you get there and you want her to invest and really feel connected is where she grew up, and did she grow up with sisters and brothers, and kind of go into things like that. Okay, let's go to the next question.
How would you calibrate your set depending on the girl? For example, if you see a girl with more tattoos and more piercings, would you spike things more during the investment phase compared to an innocent, dreamy yogi where you would just keep it like far more generic, basic, and open-ended? How would you calibrate in those situations?
That is a very good question. That is indeed an advanced question. I love this guy. Actually, the next podcast episode is with him. He is a fitness coach in our community, and we did a podcast episode with him yesterday, but I didn't want to use it as podcast number 100, so I'm actually releasing it after this one. So the next one, listen to this guy. He's a smart guy. He's becoming a better and better day gamer. He has a lot of potential if he keeps going at the pace he's going at. Okay, you have to look at the girl's kind of, how does she look? Tattoos is a tricky thing depending on where they are, but if you see things like pearl earrings, for example, and she looks like super classy, like classical, kind of wearing like almost like not like a suit, but something like that, like a very official looking outfit. Also pay attention, whatever she's wearing, is it emphasizing whatever makes her hot? Is it kind of tight fitting to her body, or is it more like a fucking square thing and just doesn't really show her body that much? I'm not talking about cleavage, but does it even kind of show the shapes? And the less of that you see, the more likely it is that she at least appears like a good girl. And yes, there are exceptions, but if you're talking about this, is she hiding her sexuality a little bit, or how sexy she is by dressing completely in a non kind of revealing way, or then she is most likely, at least in my experience, she's most likely a good girl. Yes, but if I see girls with crazy tattoos and piercings and nose rings and of course crazy style, maybe some cleavage, I will probably go pretty hardcore. Let me think. I remember a set long time ago in Prague, Czech Republic, with a tattooed girl, black tight-fitting dress and like a rebel look. I think she had some piercings as well. And I just started telling a story how I love how Prague appears like this cultured, polite place with like beautiful architecture and it's like super polite, nothing crazy. But then it has this crazy like sex dungeons culture, and there's BDSM is so developed here. And well, turns out she's going to sex dungeons all the time, and this is what she told me just because I brought up the topic. But if you bring up this topic with a girl that's super polite, super kind of like the typical good girl, whatever you associate that word with, obviously she's even if I get the number, she will most likely flake unless you hit the small percentage of chicks who look like they're really angels but actually are super curious about the thing. I've done that in Riga too. I've met girls with colorful hair, with piercings and tattoos and everything, and somehow I started teasing, oh, she didn't say where she worked, and just by teasing where she works, oh, you must work as like a sex shop or something, and boom, we start talking about a sex shop, we start talking about BDSM, and turns out she was a known figure in the Latvian BDSM scene. So that was a lovely experience, if you know what I mean. So you can kind of throw in spikes like that, and you simply have to look at how she reacts when you do these things. But don't go around saying that they go to sex dungeons and start talking about stuff like, especially if that's not your thing, because like I do a lot of, not a lot, but quite a bit of rope bondage, and I have a backpack full of toys and stuff like that. So if you are into all of that, then you can play with these topics. But if you're not, then and she will just know that you're faking it, because she's seen guys that are like way more hardcore than you can even imagine. I mean, I've been out with girls who've dated some of the most hardcore BDSM guys that I personally know and that exist in Latvia, and I've been out with them, and she's like, and if you don't have that thing as part of your personality, then it's not gonna happen. She's gonna totally see through you. And of course, if she is more of a good girl, you don't want to go that hardcore, but the better you get, and especially if you're traveling and you don't have a lot of time and you're looking for same-day lay opportunities, you still want to tease and spike a little bit, but maybe about some softer things. But that's what I would say about like hardcore questions. If she looks apart and she is giggly and all over the place and loves the conversation, why not throw it in? Why not see what's happening? Because these girls very often will find, like the thing with girls into BDSM is that it's super hard to find guys that are into BDSM, and I'm talking more about than just more aggressive fucking. Yeah, I'm talking about maybe ropes and actually know at least a little bit what to do with the ropes, not just kind of some weird stuff and they don't know shit. I'm not saying that I know a lot. I'm a good beginner. Let's put it like a good beginner, a weak intermediate. So it's very hard for them to find guys that are into that stuff, because there are more girls into that stuff than guys. At least in Europe, in most places where I've been, I felt that's the thing. So if you are into that stuff, then I highly suggest communicating it in your sets with girls like that, because she might think, oh, yes, I'm gonna go on another date and it's gonna be super boring and he's gonna be a bad fuck. Whereas if she knows, oh, this guy's actually into some stuff, then well, she's actually way more likely to come out. Then again, while you are learning this stuff and this calibration, you're gonna get more flakes because you're gonna do this at the wrong spot, wrong times. And most of those girls who look super hardcore aren't that hardcore. It's just an image they have. It's just a persona they have. Me having tattoos and a beard and a leather jacket doesn't mean that I ride a bike and sell heroin on the street corners like it meant maybe 30, 40 years ago. And as far as calibration goes, what's important is if you throw out one thing like that, start with something softer, of course, and she doesn't respond to that, don't take the next step. That's what calibration means. You have to do smaller things and then look at her reaction and understand, can I go further in this direction? It's the same thing with escalation. You do a smaller move, she reciprocates, you know what I mean. Then you can back off a little bit and then you do a bigger move and she's fine with that. You back off, you do a bigger move. It's the same with calibration or spicier things in sets, etc. So I hope this answers the question. And by the way, this guy sent a lot of questions, so half of the questions are from him. Respect. Because some of the deacons didn't send questions. So by the way, after you listen to this, and if you didn't send any questions, then don't ask me your questions. Come on. You had your opportunity. Okay, next question. Question number 3 about flow questions. Let's see what that means.
During the investment phase, the difference between the advanced guys and the people who consciously try to attempt the model is that the questions that the advanced guys ask and the conversation that the advanced guys have with the girl during the investment phase, it's far more natural and it flows compared to someone who's consciously doing it, quote unquote me. So what are some of your tips to ensure that we achieve that flowness in the set, if that makes sense?
Again, a good question, and there comes like a level in day game where it's almost unconscious, subconscious, or you just do it and you don't really know how you do it. And for me, this probably is one of those things. Okay, I will get back to calibration. I will say that start with one thing and then go to the next. But the one thing, and I know, dude, I know this is not what you want to hear, but the answer is, it is about going on many dates, because the more dates you and analyzing those dates, just as you are analyzing your sets, you can analyze your dates, and each time you see a new topic in a set, you meet a chick that's a fashion designer. You will come up after the set, you will think, oh, what was the topic? Fashion designer. How can I come up? What's a good story I can tell the next time about fashion designers? And you will have a story. And each next time you meet a fashion designer, you have a new story. And then you learn, the more fashion designers you meet, the more things you learn about them, the more stories you have. And then all of a sudden, you know so much about fashion design that you can just chat about it nonstop. And it's the same with dates. The more you see these topics come up on a date, the more you will practice with them, and you'll just get used to talking about almost any topic on a date, and it's really a matter of dates. But go to daygamecourses.com. And either on dating basics or dating advanced, there are specific techniques I give on how, like, different conversational techniques, and they've been, by the way, some of them have been on other online courses as well. If you remember Tom Torero's girlfriend sequence, then a lot of that stuff was there. I've learned some stuff from the Russian daygamers I used to work with when I lived in Riga, because I was working a lot with a big Russian dating company. So I added some of that there. Go there, and there are conversation techniques that will help you. Like a great example is parroting. Like a chick will be telling, I really, I travel a lot and I really like Paris. And you would just kind of repeat the last thing she said and look kind of like, you just, you like Paris. And as you say that, she will kind of keep telling about the topic. She will keep investing in the topic. So there are simple conversation techniques that you really have to learn. And if anyone hasn't seen those, I think it's on Dating Advanced. But if and by the way, to those who aren't on that site daygamecourses.com, like we have basic courses that are completely for free, but you can get the advanced courses if you're a dick and you spam a few of your friends and invite them to join the site, and you will get them for free. Or if you really don't want to send anyone any links, you can just buy those advanced courses for pretty cheap. I think both advanced texting and advanced dating together is like 80 euros. So I mean, come on, it's cheap anyways. I am making a course to replace that course, and that's the price tag is going to be completely different. So just invite a few friends, watch them, and those conversation techniques really work. And just as you are, before going out on a day game session, you are thinking, oh, today I'm going to work on my storytelling. I'm going to use, instead of using 3 things technique, which I talk about on the structured natural video series on my YouTube channel, I'm going to use another storytelling technique. And that's what you focus on that session. And when you go on a date, I used to do the same. I would re-watch the videos before I go on a date. And I would go on a date and I would think, okay, this time I'm going to work on parroting and I'm going to work on vacuuming. So parroting is the thing I explained previously, where you repeat the last thing she said. And vacuuming is simply when you shut up. And she would say, oh, I love traveling. I went to Paris. I'm just looking at her. And you stay silent, and she will very often, almost always, break the silence and keep talking, because you are used. We day gamers, we go on a lot of dates, so we're used to awkward situations. Girls in general go on less dates than really good day gamers, so they have less experience, and if you feel awkward with silence, imagine how awkward she feels. So you're kind of putting her in that position where she's like, oh my god, and now she will break the silence. Make sure you don't do that in the beginning of a date. It's more gonna towards the second part of the date, just because she's gonna think, oh, this guy's awkward, can't talk, what the fuck. But yeah, most of your conversation skills can be solved with that course, and just watch that, and enough rambling. Just no quick answer to that. It's shitload of dates and practicing those conversation techniques consciously, not on autopilot. Okay, let's do the next one. Should be question number 3. Let me open them one by one just so I can edit this easier.
Question for St. Robert.
Oh, Mr. T.
So we know that with texting, you want to keep the emotion going, either with text pings or photo pings. Now, sometimes I feel like I've sent way too many photo pings, and I would like to know, how much is too much?
Okay, that is a good question. We actually wanted to do a separate podcast with Mr. T where we would talk about texting, but well, since we didn't, we recorded the Daygamers apartment video. By the way, if you haven't seen Daygamers apartment video, it's a really good video where we show Mr. T's apartment in New York City, and we explain how everything is set up, and so that the dates would go smoother once you bring the girl back. It's set up so that she kind of feels more open, opens up to you a bit more, and it just makes the thing easier for both you and the girl. So watch that, it's on my YouTube channel. Okay, how much is too much? First of all, I would say don't text too much in general. I text more than the guy, because texting, by the way, has changed. And if you learn maybe texting from maybe Tom Carrero's books or YouTube videos, texting has changed a lot. I don't always expect the girl to respond to my ping. Sometimes I will send a ping and I will kind of know that she will not respond. And that's fine. She doesn't have to always respond. The texting dynamic in the world has changed in general. It's fine to not respond even to a friend's text sometimes because you're fucking busy, or you saw it, it's funny, but you're gonna talk about it the next time you hop on a call, and that's normal. So with this being said, I don't text more than a few days. I would say, if you haven't date requested a girl in 3 days after getting the number, then it's already, like you're wasting your time. I would send, on the first day, I would send a feeler. She responds. I would send one ping the same evening. Always send one ping the same evening. You get a number. First of all, you always have to send the first message the same day you get the number. That reminds me, I forgot to ping to send a feeler to a girl I met yesterday. Oh fuck, later. And so always send a feeler on the first day when you get the number. Never leave it for the next day. I've tested this. The flake rate, if you send it the next morning, is just through the roof, like 90, like 80, more than 80, 90% numbers are gone. Almost no one responds to that. And I always send one ping the same evening, even if it means texting late at night when I should be doing something more interesting. I break that rule a lot, by the way. I do text after 7 p.m. quite a lot, depending on the country, less in Latvia, more in maybe other places, but I don't follow that rule anymore. And then I would send maybe one ping the next morning, whether that's a photo ping or not a photo ping, it doesn't actually matter. She responds to that. If I send, and I will send on day 2, I will send one more text. If she responds, I'm date requesting. I'm not kind of doing this blah, blah, blah back and forth, because if she's interested, she is interested. And if she is not, she's not. You're not going to magically change her mind by texting. By texting, you are more likely to fuck up a lead than you will save it. So I would say always date request super fast, maybe the next day after you get the number or the day after that. She doesn't agree to the date request, silence for maybe 36 hours. Let's say you date requested Wednesday evening, then like Friday morning you can send a ping. Boom, 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 a few pings, date request the next day again. She doesn't go for it, delete the number, forget her. Like it's magic doesn't happen. I mean, it does, but it's not really worth wasting your time. So I would really say text less. Send more messages per day instead of sending one ping, because people would say, oh yeah, you can send one ping a day. And don't send more than one photo ping a day, by the way. If you're talking how much photo pinging is too much, then one photo ping a day is fine. I would say it's fine to send 3 pings in a day. There's nothing wrong with that. I do that. But it's not fine to send 3 photo pings per day. Maybe 1, maximum 2 is fine. 2 is kind of stretching it depending on the country. And then just go for the date request fast. Don't waste your time. And I hope this answers the question. If not, then let's do a podcast about texting, Mr. T. We will ask people for their texting questions. And okay, let's do the next one, number 5.
So this is a juicy one. Have you managed to have a harem of 2 or 3 girls that were aware of each other and met? If so, what were the cons? Also, what's the story behind that? If not, what are your thoughts on harems?
This is the one question I listened to before recording this, actually. That's why I knew there are threesome questions. There is another one from Jay, the guy I coached in Bogota. There are a few videos about him. By the way, that guy kept going out. If you watch his videos, actually got his 3rd day game lay with his AA and everything else, and is still going out as far as I know. Okay, harems. Well, it's a kind of like a big question. It's harems. So the main question is, have you dated several girls that knew about each other? Let's start with that. Or that knew that other girls exist. All of my girls know that there are other girls. No one expects kind of monogamy, but it's different for me and almost everyone else. Why? Now, how do I set it up? So first of all, I'm a dating coach, and girls that I date know what I do for a living. I don't hide what I do for a living. Yesterday, I did my first set in Riga, and I told her, when she asked me, what do you do? I said, well, when you go out with a Latvian guy, they're pretty boring. Well, yeah. It's like, well, my job is to help them become more interesting with girls. I'm a dating coach. I teach men about dating. And in general, all girls that I date know what I do. And I stopped hiding it. And if they don't like it, then, well... So it's easier for me, because if I'm a dating coach, I'm probably dating several girls. If you are not a dating coach, which is a whole different podcast topic, by the way, like becoming a dating coach, because some guys want to do that. They have no idea how hard of a job that actually is, but whatever. I love it. It's my favorite. It's one of the best things I've done in my life. I like online poker too, but this or business coaching, but this is cool too. Okay, then what you have to do, and you have to do this, it's your responsibility to do this with any girl you are seeing more than once, don't be a dick. Don't give her false hopes. In my eyes, if a girl doesn't know you are not monogamous with her, then in my eyes you're a complete asshole. Because you don't have to lie. That's the misconception guys have, that you have to hide something from the girls. You have to lie to them. You don't have to hide shit. You don't have to lie. They're fine with most girls are fine with you seeing other girls. They like, how are you gonna set up threesomes if girls don't know you're dating other girls? So what you do is, after the second time you sleep with a girl, you tell her, hey, listen, I wanted to talk about one thing with you. This is really important for me that we actually talk about this. I really like you, and I, this is the second time we meet, and it's been really cool. We're having a really good time, but I just wanted to know you, and it's important for me that you understand that I'm not looking for a serious monogamous relationship right now, and I just wanted you to know that, just so that no one gets hurt and we're on the same page. But I really like you, and I would really love to keep seeing you. And when you do this, especially this sounded like kind of almost apologetic, not apologetic, but you're thinking about her. You are making sure she doesn't get hurt. You're just telling, listen, I don't want you to get the wrong idea, because it might hurt later. So just so you know, like, you're really cool, but this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm looking for, but you're so amazing, I want to keep seeing you. And this isn't a message where you're telling, yo, I have other chicks, this is just you making sure she's feeling okay with whatever is happening. So it's this message is for her. So you have to do this. As soon as you do that, then, well, of course, she knows you have other girls. How do we introduce those girls? This is where it becomes much more interesting, and that's a topic I should cover on a podcast. I haven't done it. I have touched upon this in several podcasts, but haven't done like a dedicated podcast episode on this. So how do you introduce two girls? Well, when I start dating a girl, I will just after the second time I sleep with the girl, I will kind of start talking about what is she into. Is like, are you into girls? Have you ever done anything with girls? Because different people like different things, and maybe she has, maybe she hasn't, and that's where you that's like cracking the door, seeing what's happening there. And you're not gonna say, she says, oh yeah, I like girls. You're not gonna say, oh yeah, let's do threesomes. Oh yeah, no, you don't want to do that, because again, just as you can go up to a girl on the street and you can say, hey, let's go to my place, and like some girls will say yes. I mean, I know guys who have actually done this, who have walked around the streets and said, like, let's go, and they found chicks. That's how Russians would train they're not daygamers, but whatever. That's one of the things they would teach. That one of the things you had to do, you had to pull a chick just by saying, let's go and fuck. And then after the training, you had to go home and you had to repeat it without trainers, without other gamers, with nothing. You would just have to repeat it, just so you know that's actually possible. So it is possible that you're filtering out hardcore, and most girls will say no, but whereas if you do a nice set, and then you take her number, and then you text, and then you go on a date, and maybe sometimes you go on a second date, and then you pull her home. It's like this way this is gonna filter out most girls, and this is gonna be pretty fucking effective. And it's the same with threesomes. If you tell a girl, oh, you like girls, and she's like, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, let's go. I have a chick coming over. Let's have a threesome. Well, most of them will not do that. So I think the interesting part is working with girls that aren't yet maybe ready for that, aren't super down for threesomes, and you can just say, oh, and this is important. I'm not, when I'm saying this to girls, I'm not actually lying in the threesomes that I have set up in the past. I would just say, hey, I am seeing this one girl, and I have a feeling you two would really click, like you would really like each other. And when I say this, I actually am talking about the girl that I know, or I think they would both really click with one another. And you see how she reacts, and she's like, oh. And you can simply say, listen, like we don't have to. It doesn't mean that anything is going to happen. But what we can do, we can simply sometimes meet for like wine and then like see what happens. Maybe we will just have a glass of wine, or maybe we'll have some fun. Like we will see how everyone feels, and at this moment she has to trust you. She has to know you are not doing this just to get a threesome so you would have fulfilled your fucking fantasy. Because then like if you're too needy, then you're probably gonna fuck it up anyways. And that's how I get girls together in the same room, and then the rest is history. And what to do when they're in the same room, we will cover that in a different podcast if enough people ask for that in the group chat and in the comments, because that's a whole different conversation, and there are many ways to do it. And I wouldn't call myself an expert on it, but I've done it a few times when kind of like on my craziest days, when I was like, oh my god, threesomes are possible, oh my god. So that's how I do this. For harems, as in like chicks that at any moment you can just invite both of them over, I haven't done that. I'm not. I think it's a lot of work, and work that I'm not willing to do. That reward and effort for me doesn't really make sense, because I've done my threesomes, I've had my fun, etc. So I think there are other guys who are better experts on this thing. So. But make sure when you listen to other guys talking about this, make sure it's not a sugar baby scenario. It's not a maybe indirect pay for play where a guy is taking care of the chicks. So that's basically the same as getting a sugar baby. That's same as pay for play. So all that we're doing is I'm not buying anything that I don't want to buy to girls. I will buy a gift sometimes for a girl that I'm seeing for a long time, or if she does something nice to me, like I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I would say that's it. As for harems, I mean, it's a cool thing, but I'm not really willing to do the work, to be honest. Okay, let's go to the next question about non-verbal communication.
In a country where English is not really the first language and you are not using Google Translate, how would you start with a tease? Like, you look like cat. Either you must be meditating or really high must sound a bit complicated for them to understand. So what would be your typical stacks with the T's along with strong non-verbal communication?
Okay, another good question from our fitness coach. Let me first clarify one thing about Google Translate. I think Google Translate is worth using only when you are able to communicate. Like you have most of the communication down. Even if you have a huge language barrier, you're still running a set. You're still like a few minutes in, and then you would pull out Google Translate to just say something you don't know how to say or she didn't understand, and it's like an extra tool, but I don't find it particularly effective if she isn't hooked, if you're not communicating already. I haven't found it to be too effective. That being said, the rule number one, well, first of all, I will still use the same stacks, I will still use the same stories, I will just simplify them. And the way you simplify them is especially if you're an English speaker, oh my god, this is super hard to teach to guys whose native language is English. Speak super slow. Use as few words as possible and as simple, like the simplest words you can come up with. So instead of using 20 words, use 5. The simplest, you have to speak slow, and I'm not just talking about leaving pauses between words. That it makes it slower, but you're still saying those words fast. Like you can, yeah. So, and she doesn't understand the word because of that. The word you said because of that. So slower words, less words, simpler words is all you need. I've daygamed with very limited Spanish in Colombia and in Argentina, and it still worked. It was still great. So and the last summer we did a lot of coaching. A lot of guys came to work with me to Ukraine. I spent almost 3 months in Kharkiv, Ukraine, where 50% of girls spoke and understood zero English, and then maybe like 20% had 10 to 20% had decent, like they could have a basic conversation, but if 50 understand nothing and let's say 50 understand nothing, 15 can talk in English, then you still have 35 who can barely communicate. And it worked. Like, it's simple, talk slow, use simple words. Like, all those rules work very, very well. So that's all you need. Okay, next one, side stop question. Oh my God, that is advanced.
I've noticed one thing, that instead of a front stop, when I do like a side stop with like a tap on the shoulder, quite often the girl freaks out. How do we avoid that freaking out situation, especially in like indoor environments like shopping malls or coffee shops?
So side stops are great in some places, while they are incredibly bad at other places. You do a side stop in Latin America, I've had a chick start screaming like crazy, just like like as if I was like robbing her, because it was in Argentina. It was in a place where people are getting robbed all the time. It's super typical. So when someone taps you on the shoulder from the side, they're probably robbing you. So never ever use stops like that in any place in Latin America. It's I mean, Mexico maybe in like Playa del Carmen, where it's full with tourists. Here it's different. Like on Quinta, whatever. Like do whatever the fuck you want. No one cares. But first of all, pick your locations. Second is you have to make sure you look apart. I did a podcast a long time ago. Black Guy Daygame in New York City was a podcast I did with Mr. T, where he talked about the differences in New York City with Daygame in New York City if you are black. And he said in New York City, a lot of people, in general, me coming from Eastern Europe, I was surprised. When I went to US, I was surprised to learn what racism is and see that there's actually a lot of racism there and prejudice. So when you are in New York City and like a black guy approaches you on the street, he's probably trying to sell you something. That's what people think there. That's what people think there. And you have to make sure you look so good, you're dressed so well, that there is no way anyone is trying that this guy is trying to sell you something. So if you are in a place where people have racial stereotypes, make sure you really, really look kind of like, this guy is not selling anything, this guy doesn't want anything, he just, I don't know. Another thing, when you do a side stop, she has to see you. If she doesn't see you, that's a stop from the back. That is way more advanced. That's what I do in most places, actually. I stop from the back. I expect them to freak out, which puts them in this kind of deer in the highlights scenario. And I use it to my advantage because I play with it, but don't do that. Make sure she sees you. So when you do that side stop, just make sure you aren't like she's here. Make sure you aren't completely next to her. Make sure you are actually a little bit in front of her. So it's like 30 degrees in front. It's like, hey, sorry. Get eye contact before you tap on a shoulder or whatever you do. Don't do it from the back. Make sure she sees you. Okay, that's it for this one. Question number 8. Who is this from? Oh, I know who is this from. This is a very good day gamer from London.
Yo, happy episode number 100. My question is two-part. So firstly, because you like those crazy, juicy stories so much, you gotta give us your favorite Latin American story. So be it LA or near miss. And secondly, I'm just curious, what's next for Saint Robert? Is he gonna continue teaching day game? Is he gonna pivot? Is he gonna go AWOL on the ground?
I love this question. let's leave this as the last question because I have a coaching call with my life coach in 5 minutes, and this is a long answer. I will answer to this, but I'll record this when I'm done with my coaching call. And this is, so let's do the last question before, because we have one more question, and this is from Jay, the guy I coach in Bogota. I highly suggest watching his videos about him. Just because if you have very, very strong AA, then it's a story of a guy who has crazy AA overcoming it and just dealing with it. And it's you can see all the things I did. Those videos aren't the most exciting because they're just me sitting in a room and coaching him over the phone in some cases. But if you have crazy AA and you're trying to deal with it, those videos will be very valuable for you. And so let's listen to his question.
So my question is, like, you're seeing a girl and then you know, of course, you cite in the question of a trio, she's interested. How do you set that up without it causing any issues also? So I'm curious because you might meet another girl from Daygame also. Do you share that you meet these girls from Daygame alone? Is that ever an issue with the girls that you're currently seeing?
Okay, Jay's question was partially answered before when Mr. T asked about harems. So a lot of the stuff I explained before. One thing that I want to explain here, or 2 points that I want to add here. Number one is it might not work. Like your threesome might not happen with the girls you want to get together. You'll need more girls, and that's fine. Don't worry if you don't set it up. Don't be this needy guy who is desperately trying to get these girls together, trying to bring up this topic 10 times, and just because you brought it up once and she's like, and then you are again and again and again and again, and you know, don't be that needy guy. Like that's all I'm trying to say. And if you can do that, then another thing I want to add is you will need. You know, we have abundance, and there is like abundance to set up threesomes, and that is way higher level of abundance because you don't just need a ton of girls, you need options for setting up threesomes. So if you have 2 girls who are interested in meeting each other, it doesn't mean that it's gonna work out. I've had threesomes that failed 3 times before they finally happened. Just girls not showing up, flaking at the last minute and stuff like that. So, and don't become reactive at that moment. That is super important. It's abundance, but next level. Stay chilled. Remember how abundance worked just with regular, kind of having regulars and just having several girls you're seeing. And it is the same in threesomes. Have more than 2 girls that you can try to get together. You have to keep going out, get more and more girls. But if you just get lucky and they happen to click, that's amazing. If not, then go out a ton more and do a ton more sets. But I think the threesome question was answered before. As long as you get them together in the same room for some wine, they should be fine. And then the short version is your job is just to make sure. Just as you built attraction and then comfort and then seduction with the girl that you went on a date with, your job is to facilitate their conversation so that they are building attraction, then they're building comfort with each other, and they're starting to seduce each other. How to do that? That's a super advanced question, but once you're there, I think you will kind of know how to do that. It's like going on dates. It's trying to set up threesomes is kind of like going on dates. Like if you go on a date, then you're going to learn what to do there. With threesomes, it's the same. If you get them in the same room, then trial and error, you will probably get there. Now I'm gonna get to the call with my coach, and I will answer the last question that we have left, which is a very good question. I'm very curious. I'm very interested in answering that. It's a thing I've been thinking about a lot actually. So, okay, and we're back. So let's listen one more time to the question that I didn't answer yet, and let's go over that because that was a very interesting question.
Yo, happy episode number 100. My question is 2-part. So firstly, because you like those crazy juicy stories so much, you gotta give us your favorite Latin American story, so be it LA or near miss. And secondly, I'm just curious, what's next for Saint Robert? Is he gonna continue teaching day game? Is he gonna pivot? Is he gonna go AWOL on the ground?
Let's start with the second question. What's the plan for Saint Robert? Because I have been doing this thing I have been day gaming for more than 4.5 years now, and coaching for something like 4 years. Because I learned day game very fast. I was extremely dedicated. That's all I did for most of my day. So I got really good pretty fast, and I met Tom Torero. And Tom Torero encouraged me to start coaching, and that's actually how I started my website, my blog, and then I started this podcast, episode number 100. All of that happened, and I've been doing this for quite a while, and I've seen how the day game industry has changed. It went from guys telling literally fake stories. Oh, it started with weird shit, but it went into this very pick-up-y thing with fake stories, with fake accessories that have, oh, this thing I bought on these bracelets. Oh yeah, I bought them on a beach in Santa Marta from a local lady who was making them, and this is actually a true story. And guys would tell these stories about the things they bought in a local store, and there isn't an interesting story behind that. And it was a lot of fake stuff, and I did it when I started, and everyone did it when they started, or most guys did it when they started. And that was the way to become good, was take stories that someone else had invented and then just copy paste them and use the same stories. But I've moved away from that in some ways. Even when I coach my students, yes, we use copy-paste stacks and all of that, and the storytelling is structured, and I'm in no way I am teaching natural day gamers or anything like that. The structured natural video series explains why I don't do that stuff, and why I'm not a big fan of natural game or anything like that for beginners or as a tool for learning. But I am teaching guys how, instead of telling fake stories, they can just show who they already are as in a most interesting way. So they don't have to fake anything. They don't have to pretend to be someone they're not. They can build their game around the personality they have. Because I recently asked in a poll on my YouTube channel and in our group chat, I asked what it is you're really looking for. And I said this is going to be anonymous, and there were 3 options. Number 1, fuck hot bitches, like the typical day game thing. So I just want a bunch of girls, which is fine. I love girls. I love a bunch of girls. I've been there, done that. And then the next option was I want to find a girl to build a relationship with, like a better quality girl. And the third one was I want to have fun for a year, so just sleep with a bunch of girls, do crazy stuff, but then 1 year later I want to maybe find someone that I really like, and then learn to meet girls that I don't have access to right now, and I want to learn to have access to girls like that by having fun for a year, and then build a relationship with someone I really like. And if still on a YouTube majority said, oh, I just want a bunch of girls, then if I look at people that are closer, deeper in my audience, maybe guys in a group chat, that a bigger part of the guys said, yeah, I want to have fun for a year, but then I want a girlfriend. And then I see guys that I coach, and I ask them, what are you looking for? I always ask this question. I give them these 3 options. And yes, some of them want to have fun. Let's say like 50% want to just have some fun, but more and more people are saying, I do want to have some crazy fun, but then after that, I want to maybe find someone I want to build a relationship with. And if your game is built on fake stories about your stupid bracelets and lying about what you do for a living, where you are, or how long you are in a city for, and you just think that you aren't enough, like what you are isn't enough, then it's gonna be super hard to build that relationship if it starts with a lie. So now I coach guys in a way that builds game around their existing personality. Of course, they have to develop their personality, they have to raise their sexual market value and change the way they look. That's why most of the guys I coach actually have worked with my stylist. You can actually, in my YouTube channel, you can search for a video, how to stop looking like a nice guy. That chick is amazing, and she has worked with so many of the guys I've coached. So, and you have to figure out what you're doing with your life, money-wise and fitness-wise. That's why I'm working with my fitness a lot right now. I want to see, okay, I'm quite good with girls, I'm quite good with my business, but can I also become quite ripped? And I'm experimenting with my SMV, because I think game is fun, and game is needed to even if you want to use term game, I'm not really a big fan of that word anymore. Super PC, boring, stupid Saint Robert, which is what all the old school day gamers would say. But raising your SMV and building your seduction skills in a way that's where you don't have to lie makes you, as one of the guys asked about, so how do you become super fluent in those conversations? Well, when you do that stuff enough, when you actually become a more interesting person who lives that lifestyle, you have stuff to talk about, because your life is incredibly interesting, and that's kind of what I'm going for. I want to live an incredibly interesting life. So while I coach day game, and I coach day game more than I've ever coached day game before, and I'm usually pretty crazy, like overbooked when the coaching season starts, like now, I am teaching it in a little bit different way, but at the same time I am teaching it in a different way, but my students are getting better results because it feels more natural to them. So Saint Robert will definitely keep coaching day game. There is just I love coaching. Just after last summer, I learned that I maybe don't want to coach 4 guys in a month, because that is impossible. Like I was burned out. I coached too much, and so this summer I'm coaching 3 guys a month, and I'm doing it mostly in places where I go to really cool places for day game. Like Riga is amazing for day game. The place where we're going in Balkans has really hot girls, so I'm super curious to see, about seeing that. Sweden, I've heard so many good things, and there are many guys who complain about Sweden, but I know that good day gamers are doing really good in Sweden, so I just thought I'm gonna go test it out, and the Swedish girls are very beautiful, so I'm going to places that I find amazing, and I coach there, and it has just changed. How I coach has changed a little bit. The locations I coach at have changed a little bit. With that, the guys who choose to work with me have changed a little bit, and the longer I keep doing this, the more amazing the people that work with me are. And last summer, I learned more from my students, or as much from my students, about different topics as they learned about day game from me, because I learned about finance and about citizenships and residencies and passports, and some guys taught me about crypto that I don't know almost anything about, and just more and more interesting guys choose to work with me because I've changed how I look at the game. Will I pivot? I am pivoting, actually. I'm still coaching, I'm still day gaming, I'm still creating day game content, but I am creating more and more content about dating in general, because day game is amazing, but there are guys who have dates from different sources, not just day game, and they would want to know what to do on those dates. And if I can only coach maybe 20 something guys in a year, because I always coach one-on-one. I'm not sacrificing quality of coaching to make more money to coach 2 guys at the same time, or hire someone else to coach for me. I'm not doing that. I'm not planning to do that. So I can only help one-on-one like 20 something guys a year, which is not a lot. But if I teach people about dating in general, what to do on dates, etc., I can do that in a format of an online course. And I think I really know what to do on dates and how to teach about this stuff, and it's simpler than guys imagine. So I actually have created an online course that will be launched soon. It's for guys that don't know almost anything about day game and are just starting out to improve their dating lives. And the course simply will explain why Does your dating life suck? Why are girls not going out with you? Why are they trying to get iPhones and gifts and luxury trips from you? Why are they not sleeping with you? Why they see you once and never again and all? And just kind of gives you this, oh, this is what's wrong. This is like, now you know your mistakes. And now the next course that I haven't started creating yet, but I will start creating it soon, is actually gonna be about what to do to become like a pretty cool dude when you go on a dates. And it's gonna be everything you need to know about dates, like what types of, like, way deeper than the courses on daygamecourses.com are right now. I haven't seen a product like, it's not going to be just about dates. It's going to be how to actually become a more interesting dude. So I am creating more content like that just because it's interesting to me. That being said, I love coaching. It's super. Coaching for me is more interesting than daygaming. Daygaming for me is fairly easy. I can go to almost any place like where I've been, and if I like the city, if I like the girls, then you know. But I've sorta lost interest in sleeping with someone once. When I go out with a girl, I am looking at her as a regular. Am I interested in seeing her more than once, maybe hanging out with her outside the bedroom, doing some more interesting stuff, going to like, I don't know, like, it's like after I've been seeing her for a while, do I want to go out, check out some restaurants? Do I want to go out to like a shisha like a hookah place, shisha place, just smoke, like just like talk about life? And do I want to do some hiking in the nature with her? Or maybe do I want to go on a trip? And I like to have relationships with the girls I'm actually dating instead of just sleeping with them once, because again, you know, my like count is high enough to prefer reading a book over sleeping with someone once, because the first time is always a little bit awkward. So I don't see a lot of value there. So maybe shorter day game trips for like a week to go to a place are not interesting for me anymore at all. I prefer spending several months in one place right now, because that gives me opportunity to focus on my health. That gives me my routine. I can find my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym and lifting and regulars and build some circle of friends. So that is how my life has changed. That is how my coaching has changed. So basically, yes, a lot has happened, a lot has changed. Sorry for the long ramble, but I'm still gonna keep coaching, just 25 guys a year, no more than that, and the rest is gonna be online courses and stuff like that. And the first question, the juiciest, craziest story from Latin America. Let me think about that. Honestly, I wouldn't say that there was like a crazy lay story or crazy near miss story, just because it's pretty clear now that when I go out, it's either gonna be like a shorter date or it's gonna be a lay. So there aren't a lot of kind of things where I end up and it's like, oh, I don't know what to do here. And if I end up, then it's maybe like it was the wrong time for the girl, because maybe she just had some crazy thing happen in her life and she just wasn't ready. So because of that, there aren't a lot of near misses. And usually when I go home with a girl, we both know what's gonna happen. And you know, when we are at like a second venue on a date, we kind of know what's gonna happen. But I'll just tell the whole Argentina story, because I spent almost 3 months in Argentina, which is one of 2 favorite places I've ever been to in the world, because I have been traveling around the world and looking for places where I want to actually live a few months a year. And the first place was a place that I found last summer. It was Kharkiv, Ukraine. So that was actually when the war started. It was super sad, because like all the streets that I saw that blown up in Kharkiv, that was where I was just looking. I was just watching news and I was remembering, oh, on that street I used to go that night with that chick. We would sit on that bench and we would just talk about life and see that street musician plays guitar and sing, and I got a lot of memories. And Buenos Aires was for me the second place I found that's amazing. The one thing about Buenos Aires, and in the vlogs I posted from there, you might have seen like, oh my god, Robert was like getting laid left and right and doing crazy things. But you have to understand that By the way, yeah, one thing is we were always thinking when we met girls from Argentina while I was living in Mexico with Mario and Paulo and Mr. T and David and everyone else, and we always thought the Argentinian girls were super hard to sleep with. They had the sickest frame, and oh my god, but turns out when I go to Argentina, turns out everyone in Latin America knows that the two sluttiest, well, not Latin America, that's kind of like Mexico and like Central and South America, because you can't say Latin America because Brazil is not part of Latin America because they speak different language, so it's whatever, politics or however you call it. So everyone in Central and South America knows that the two sluttiest places in that part of the world are Brazil, which everyone knows about, everyone's going there, and Argentina. Turns out Argentina is this crazy fuckfest, and I go to Argentina and it's unbelievable. I'm doing sets left and right, and I'm getting some numbers, and I'm really getting numbers. Like I'm doing good, but those numbers just flake. That no one is coming out, nothing is happening, and like my first 30 sets and are like nothing, like 0 dates, like sets that seemed amazing, they absolutely go to nowhere, nothing happens, and this one evening I go out and it's like I'm gonna do 10 sets, fuck off. And I think it was one of those stories, you know how like you've done your session and you're walking back to your apartment and you're like, I'm gonna do one more set. And I do this one more set, set number 30 or set number 40 it was something like that. And it's just this super hot Argentinian girl, very, very beautiful, very cool chick. And well, we end up going on an eye date. Maybe she was even the one that proposed eye date or something like that. She's like, oh, what are you doing? That, and I was like, oh yeah, and I said, let's go for a drink. And what I've changed a lot in my game, I've stopped frame controlling in places where there's a different male-female kind of relationship. For example, in Eastern Europe, where the strong male-female polarity, frame is very important. You have to hold your frame, and girls like when you hold your frame and when you have very strong frame. Whereas I haven't talked about this yet anywhere, by the way. This is the first time I mentioned this because I'm not really sure about this yet. It's just an idea I have. But when you go to places where the gender equality is more of a thing, girls hate frame control. They just hate frame control. Like they think you're a dick, and that's why in our group chat we have guys that are frame controlling too much in places like Germany and other very westernized places, and we just tell them like, dude, you're stop controlling the frame, like just you're doing it too much, like just chill the fuck out. She's not snatching your frame or doing anything like that, which would be a typical thing in place like Serbia or Ukraine. Yes, it happens all the time, but not in Western Europe. And so there I chill out with my frame control a lot. So I will actually very often let girls show me bars they like, and that's how I learned about nice places in Latin America. The girls would show me really cool bars that I had no idea about. The best places, restaurants, bars, everything I found out about was from the girls I was seeing. And so we go to this one venue, and of course, pretty soon we are starting to talk about crazy adventures and banging way too many guys and like doing crazy stuff. Oh, by the way, when a girl says banging too many guys, she doesn't really mean like she doesn't have 100 lays. It might be 15, you know, because in some places like a lot is 100, and in some places a lot is like 10. So take that into consideration. So with this chick, we're doing one venue, we're already talking about this stuff, and then we're doing one more venue, and then I was like, oh, I know this place, and I'm moving closer to my apartment, but that's like in a different part. Like there's like Palermo Soho and Palermo Hollywood, which are two very nice neighborhoods in Buenos Aires, but in the middle you have this place where you shouldn't walk at night, and you have to take a taxi when you go there. So I'm getting a taxi, I'm like, oh, we're going to that bar, and she's like, I'm not getting in a taxi with you, where the fuck are we going? And I show on the taxi, I was like, this is the place where we're going, this is the bar, this is the exact venue we're going, and she's fine with that. We go there, we keep walking around, like some bars are full, we can't get, and we're like at least three venues in, because I sometimes do more than two venues, and it's kind of okay, but she kind of has to go, and she's kind of on, but you know that logically she's off, and she like can't let herself do crazy stuff, and we end up at this bar basically across the street from my place, where we get like one more drink each or two more, whatever, like just Argentina is cheap, you know, like you can get crazy cocktails for $3 to $5 in a fancy cocktail bar. And at this moment I'm like, well, it doesn't mean anything has to happen, but I want to tie you up, let's go. And she really wants to, but she's like, ugh, like she can't, like, and I know that she cannot, she doesn't trust me, but basically she doesn't trust anyone. And one thing again about Argentina is a fairly rapey place, and like girls have some girls there have bad experiences, just as in like further Eastern Europe. That's why they're sometimes afraid. And I asked her about this, and she's like, yeah, like, and I said, yeah, well, actually, it makes sense. You don't know me. And she's like, oh, like here you don't even have to, like here it can be a person you know, and they could rape you, and it's fucking crazy. And at the end, I try everything in my little secret briefcase in my arsenal, and nothing seems to work. There's nothing that works, and I just look at her and I just say, listen, there is literally nothing I could tell to you that would make you feel safe, because you don't feel safe with men. I can't help, like there's nothing I can tell you, and you know that you will be always afraid of me, regardless of what I say. You will be afraid of me. And she just kind of says, yeah, you're right, I'm super scared, and there's nothing you can tell them. And then just said, well, you will always be afraid, you will never lose your fear, so let's go. And she just looked at me and she just said, let's go. It was after a bunch of sets, and for me 30-40 sets in a city and not getting laid, that's a lot of sets. So ended up going to my place. It ended as it ended. You can imagine, she was very hot. I learned how crazy Argentine girls are in bed, because if there's one thing that I love about women in Latin America, they know how to move that booty. They're really good in bed. They're really crazy. So that's how my crazy Argentina adventures started. That was my first lay in Argentina. And it ended with, if I remember correctly, and this is, I think, my personal record, I got 9 lays in the first month while I was in Argentina, which is pretty sick. Half of that was Daygame, half of that was other stuff, but I didn't get to 10, I think, because I was too lazy, but I got 9 lays in my first month in Argentina. It was just crazy, but you guys have to understand that Argentina is a place where you actually need some game. But it's a great place for learning. If you know where to go and what to do, you can even do it in English. I will be going back in October, so I will definitely have probably a bunch of coaching spots in Argentina, and I already have guys who are starting to apply for Argentina, or at least inquire pretty seriously. So we're starting to schedule something for the next winter in Argentina. Argentina was seriously one of my craziest places, one of my favorite places I've ever been to. I am going back. I am trying to apply for residency permit and everything else. I think I'm gonna live there at least the colder months. Well, it's cold in Europe. It's amazing in Argentina. And I hope this super long answer to this guy's questions was satisfying. The story was nice enough. By the way, Brazil is another place I want to check out next winter, because it's pretty crazy. Well, with all of this being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode number 100. I know I was talking a lot, but I like to go in depth and ramble in my podcasts, just so you can maybe distill out of all of that rambling some nuggets of knowledge that help you in your game. Because in YouTube videos I can only make like an 8-minute long video, and it's like I can't teach you a lot there, whereas podcast is the place where I can actually ramble and think about things and just go deeper, and I know that a lot of you guys actually love this, and people with 8-minute attention span don't love this. So thank you a lot for listening to this. Thank you a lot for being part of this, because thanks to you guys, like all the crazy shit you see in my YouTube channel and here in my podcast, it's all thanks to you guys. You all have been, most of you have been unbelievably helpful and really incredible. So keep sending in your questions. If we have enough questions, if you have enough decent questions in the comments, I will keep doing Q&A videos, because to me they are pretty interesting. So as I said, I am free for coaching from mid-May to mid-June. That is in Riga. If you want to learn in a chill place with nice girls, with a lot of other things to do in a city, a place that is easy enough to learn day game, but not so easy that you would go back to your country and your game would be too weak for going back, which is the case in Prague. If you learn in Prague and then go back to London, then well, good luck. There's a reason why guys from London go to Prague and can get results that they go back to London and day game doesn't work for them, because well, Prague is like shooting fish in a barrel. So if you like that, then Riga is the place. Late June, early July, me and Mr. T are going to Balkans. This is for guys that have at least some experience or have big cojones and they want to learn on really hot girls with a bit stronger frame. I think it's going to be an amazing adventure, especially because it's me and Mr. T, And after that, late July, Stockholm, Sweden, with tall, legged or whatever you call that, beautiful blonde Swedish girls. And then it's already September, because most of August I'm booked with the New Zealand guys, and I have no idea where I will be in the end of August and September, but link to find out everything about coaching is in the description. Fill the form, we will chat about where the fuck could we do this with you, what city will work best for you, because I need to know a bit about you to suggest which city would be the best for you. Thank you for listening. Thumbs up, subscribe, review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that blah blah blah. You know the drill, guys. See you next time. Ciao.